This is the Kratom Science Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Gallagher, blog and social media writer for KratomScience.com, your source for all things Kratom. Jennifer Van Blunk's dream of a career in the military was cut short due to an injury. She took opiates for physical and emotional pain until she got to the point where, in her words, she was literally waiting to die. She found Kratom as a useful tool in her recovery, and now she wants to spread the word. This is Jennifer Van Blunk, and this is her Kratom story.
I was in basic training, and about 5 days before, this is all relevant to like my Kratom story, so about 5 days before graduation, we had this one final push-up, sit-up, run test. It's called the PFA, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple laps into that, I broke my heel. There was a legitimate crack in my heel. To this day, when I get x-rays done, there's still like a little, you can see a line where it didn't heal correctly. Anyway, that happened when I got out of my rack one morning to go to the bathroom, and I was on the top rack. So I had to land on it the wrong way. Whatever happened, there was a crack in my heel. So my run time, I was off by 6 seconds.
Yeah.
So, you know, they rolled me back because I did double push-ups, double sit-ups, all that stuff, and still 6 seconds I got rolled back. So I had to go through basic training again. But each time, like, I was able to run for my PFA, I think once a week. And each time my run got slower and slower because my foot hurt more and more. But I didn't say anything to him because, you know, I knew I'd be out. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a discharge right there. Because I was like 25 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I finally ran out of Tylenol. I had to go to medical to get more ibuprofen. Give everybody ibuprofen in hundreds like it was candy. So I went to go get more of that. And they asked me what was wrong, why I needed some. And if I had told them I had cramps, I'd be in the Navy today. But I was honest with them, and I told them, I said, my foot hurts. So they asked me why. And, you know, I said it feels like there's a nail going through my foot and, like, shooting up my heel. So I got an x-ray, and about probably 4 hours later, I got told I was going home. And that kind of killed me. But I was in basic, all that whole process lasted like 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's why I still had the designation veteran, you know what I mean? But I didn't get to go do anything.
So you had to be discharged because of an injury for permanently?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't get medical or anything like that. I never applied for anything because I'd rather just go work. But yeah, to this day, when it snows and rains out and stuff like that, if I have to walk, if I'm on my foot a whole lot, oh yeah, that sucker hurts.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, but I got Percocets. And
okay.
that's where everything began. That's why I say it's all relevant. When I got discharged, I didn't have any insurance.
Okay.
So I had to get them off the street.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, having to go to work so that you can get the money to buy the pain pill, you know what I mean? And then I realized when I was taking the Percocet for the pain that it killed the emotional pain too.
Yeah.
Dude, the only thing I wanted for my entire life was just, you know, military. That's the only thing that was ever on my mind, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's where all my stuff started.
That led to just like a Percocet addiction. Did you?
Yeah. Percocets led to, Percocets were, you know, good enough for a couple of years. I went downhill pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I do something, I do it 100%.
Yeah.
And I did that 100% too. But the problem, there was one day a friend of mine, I was calling around looking for Percocets and I couldn't find any. And a friend of mine had OxyContin. So she says, oh, well, it's the same thing. And you can, you know, it's just not without the Tylenol. So I said, yeah, sure. I got sucked into that. And, you know, next thing you know, let me see. I think maybe like 3 years later, something like that, I couldn't find any Oxys. I couldn't find Percs. I couldn't find Xanax. I couldn't find anything, right?
Yeah.
So I was making phone calls, and this guy, I was at the point where I was like, you know what? If somebody says they have heroin, I'm going to try it. Because I could smoke it or I could snort it. I don't have to shoot it, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't like needles. And I'm like, I have tattoos, but I'm not a big needle person.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that night I'm making phone calls. And the only person that had anything was this kid around the corner from me. He had Suboxone. So I said, well, what the hell is that? Because I'd never heard of it before, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So he explained it to me, and I went and I got one off him for like $10. And 2 weeks later, I had my own Suboxone doctor. You know what I mean? Like, I was at the point where I was desperate enough. Like, I knew I needed help. When I'm sitting there starting to think about heroin, you know?
When you say doctor, you mean an actual doctor that prescribed you Suboxone?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a pastry chef, right? So the bakery that I was working in, I'd fallen down, and I what happened was that there was a kid and he was mopping the steps and he used dish soap to mop the steps with, and he didn't tell anybody he was cleaning. So I ended up slipping down those steps, and the way that I fell, my hand punched one of the steps, and I messed up my hand. I'm a pastry chef, cake decorator. Like, it was my right hand. That's what I did everything with.
Yeah.
So I was out of work for a while, and I had to get a lawyer because there was no insurance. The guy that I was working for was doing everything under the table, not exactly on the books, and I didn't know that.
Okay.
So part of the settlement was that I would get insurance.
Yeah.
And because I had the insurance, I was able to go and get the Suboxone, and that's actually how I got sober, through that insurance. I was on Suboxone for about 5 years.
Okay.
My addiction started about 2006, and that lasted for around 5 years. And at the very end of that was when I found the Suboxone, and then I was on those for about 5 years. But I wanted off of them. I thought this was going to be the thing that I could take to get my brain off of the pills. And, then I'll be okay to go. Suboxone was 10 times worse of an addiction than the pills ever were. I felt like the lowest amount that I was able to get down to, I got down to 2 milligrams every other day of the Suboxone strips. I would cut them up, and I would sell the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like, I'd flip them and sell them. That's how I made money. I would need 2 a week. They gave me 3 a day.
You said it was worse than the other stuff. How was it worse?
Oh, my God, yeah. The withdrawal is absolutely unbelievably painful.
Yeah.
The withdrawal from Suboxone, I've talked to, a friend of mine, we're talking like a day out of her having a needle in her arm, and she's telling me that she don't want the Suboxone because the withdrawal from that is worse than the heroin. And I got to agree with her because I felt, I never did heroin, but I felt that it was way worse than anything that I got from oxys or anything else.
Yeah.
The chemical is just, it hooks you. You cannot get off of it. I couldn't go more than 24 hours without at least a piece of a milligram. I had to have at least a milligram or two every 24 hours.
Yeah.
Or I would start getting sick.
You'd start getting sick. Okay. Does Suboxone give you like a high like other opiates or?
It depends on what you're using and what you're coming off of. If you're coming off of something stronger than the Suboxone, then the dosage that you're getting, then yeah, it's not going to do anything for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty much like a ratio thing. It's like if you say you're taking Kratom extracts every day for a week, and then you go take some regular Kratom. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of the same type of thing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it got me high. It made me feel like I was okay, and I didn't want to go look for drugs.
Yeah.
And that right there was a miracle to me when I first found it. That was everything. Because then I figured, I'd be able to start focusing on myself. But the thing was, it made me feel like I was in a fog.
Yeah.
Like, I felt completely emotionally, physically numb for years. This went on. Like, I literally was just waiting to die. Yeah. Like, literally, like that's, and I'm not even exaggerating at all. Like, I was just waiting. Like, I would go out of the house and be like, man, I hope I get hit by a bus today. Like, I would legitimately hope for that to happen.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a drug, man.
Yeah. So when did you first hear about Kratom?
Okay. Actually, I was in the Suboxone doctor's office. And there was this one girl that I used to ride up to the doctor's office with. She asked me the one day when we were sitting in there, she's like, you ever heard of this stuff called Kratom? And I didn't know what the hell it was. But I was curious, so I looked up. So, I was doing a little bit of reading on it. So I went over to Wonderland. It's a head shop in Philly.
Uh-huh.
And I paid $45 for 15 capsules of something. It was some type of silver. Crazy expensive, but I had no idea. I didn't know any better. That day, I think I took all 15 caps within probably 3 or 4 hours, and it didn't do anything. I was completely unaware of, like, how Kratom worked. You know what I mean? Like, if you're uneducated, you just go and do something, and you're not doing it the right way. You don't know the whole process. And it actually did nothing. So I thought it was a bunch of bullshit. Like, oh, that's one of them hippie things, and it's not going to work for me. I need actual chemicals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a couple months later, I ran into a friend of mine from high school, and woman, I haven't seen her in 20 years. And we were talking, and ended up that she had the same problems I did with the Percocets and everything else. Her position was a little bit further than mine. She went to the heroin and stuff like that. But regardless, she was taking Kratom at the point. I think she said she'd been on it maybe 2 or 3 years at the time we were talking. So she explained both to me about online and the vendors and lab testing and the different colors and the strains and what they do and how to take it and when to take it and all that stuff. So she gave me a couple of bags of it, and I was still skeptical. I was like, whatever, we'll see. Anyway, this was around New Year's. So I'd go out, New Year's, Philadelphia, it's like a whole big thing.
Mm.
So I'd go down on New Year's Day, and on my way home, I was walking home, and my knee gave out on me, my right knee. which is bad knee anyway. I already had surgery on it and stuff. But my knee gave out, right? So I went home, and I was on Suboxone and stuff like that, and I was in so much pain, but I knew that the hospital's not going to do anything for me because I'd been through this before. I just had to, wait it out, give it a couple of days, let the swelling go down. So I said to my dad, my dad's got a very bad back. He had about 9 surgeries himself, but he gets prescription OxyContin. So I asked him for one because, my knee was the size of a softball, so he gave me one. Even I've been sober for years, clean off of the perks from the street for years. So I took a 20 milligram OxyContin, and it didn't do anything. Like, I was in a lot of pain, like to the point I had tears in my eyes at one point. So I had this bag. She had the Red Horn, I believe, was the first one that I tried. So I was like, you know what? I said, this stuff is supposed to be good for pain. I said, what the hell? I'll take it. So I took a half a teaspoon, and about 15, 20 minutes later, my knee pain was gone. Like, it really, it took the pain away to the point where it was just a dull throb. Like, I was sitting there eating ham and cheese sandwich, happy as hell, watching a movie.
Yeah.
It was absolutely unbelievable. And it took me, the one thing that I had a hard time getting over on the transition from Suboxone to Kratom was the fact that I felt good. Like, I didn't think that I deserved that feeling. Because, number one, I never thought I'd feel like that ever again in my life. I thought that was dead and gone, buried in the past, not going to happen. Yeah. And I felt fantastic. I was happy. I was in a good mood. I was looking forward to the future. And this is all after, 3 or 4 days of taking Kratom by itself. So I actually stopped. And I'd continued going to the doctor for the next, month. Because I had to wrap my head around it. You know what I mean? I had to, get in the mind frame, okay, yeah, I can be a decent human being again. I can have a little bit of hope, It took a while to adjust to that.
I hear that a lot from people that I talk to about Kratom. It's just kind of like opens you up to this new optimistic mindset that you're not even used to.
Yeah, because you're in such a, like I told you, dude, I was just sitting here waiting to die.
Yeah.
And to go from sitting there waiting to die to 20 minutes later feeling like I could take on the world.
Yeah.
That's a big friggin' adjustment.
Yeah, yeah. So had you kicked the Suboxone completely before you start Kratom, or were you?
No, I had already weaned down because I was trying to get off of it for a long time.
Yeah.
Before I even heard about the Kratom. And, I was down to about 2 milligrams basically every other day.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I couldn't go more than, 24, 28 hours because then I would start getting, the diarrhea pains and, get that anxiety knot and everything like that. But yeah, that's the one thing that I tell people a lot to pay attention to. I said, and I tell them all the time, it took me a while to accept the fact that, yes, this works. Yes, it works every time. Yes, this is how I feel. Yes, it's actually real. No, it's not addictive. It's not trading one for another. It took me a while to get my head wrapped around all that, to actually trust the plant. There's a ton to learn about it, especially, and it's all different. I mean, if you have somebody, I got a woman around the corner from me. Her name's Donna, and she just asked me about it the one day. We were talking, and I brought it up, and she was like, oh, I heard about that. And I said, you want to try some? She's like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And she's about 60. And so I gave her some that night, and she continued to get it. She asked me for the website and everything like that. She gave it to her son. It worked for his depression. He still takes it, and she does. Her and her husband both take it for pain and just basically all around good mood stuff. Mm-hmm. She told me, I bumped into her a few months ago, and she's like, I've been looking for you. She's like, I lost 20 pounds in the last 6 months, and I haven't even tried. Yeah. And I told her, I said, that's because the Kratom, it balances out your chemicals. It naturally balances out your brain chemicals so that you don't have those cravings. You're not trying to satisfy some, esoteric notion of what is happy. You know what I mean? You just are. You're not looking for that satisfaction. You're not looking for that, what's the word? It really does work. I mean, it pacifies all that external, need for validation. There we go. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. And it does so in such a way where it's kind of like having coffee every day or something. It doesn't seem like it's really hard on your body at all.
It took me, the one thing that addicts have to go through is withdrawal. So yes, the Kratom does fight the withdrawal because it's so effective for depression and anxiety and pain, because those three that's like the trifecta of withdrawal right there. Because you get hit hard with all three of those once you don't have your medication. And on top of that, you have to worry for the future. How long am I going to feel like this? When am I going to get my pills to feel okay again? With Kratom, there's none of that, but your body has to get back to it. Not only do you have to readjust your thinking, like I had so much free time when I started taking Kratom, because my brain would automatically float to, okay, who's got pills and where, because I was so used to, for years, having to go through this routine of looking for medication, wondering how I'm going to feel tomorrow, and okay, how much money do I have? How many pills can I buy? How long will that last me? I had so much free time on my hands.
Yeah.
Because that was no longer a worry of mine. I mean, I had no idea how much time and energy and effort I put into that.
Yeah.
For all those years. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about Kratom withdrawals. I mean, is it anything at all like opiate withdrawal?
No. The thing is, okay, so for me, I was on opiates for at least 10 years, we'll say, give or take, right?
Yeah.
And my body was beat up and, trained to need these chemicals and everything like that for years and years and years and years. So you have these people who, you'll give them Kratom and they'll try it and they'll say, oh, yeah, that was good. Well, they tried it once in the morning and then that's it. They didn't take it again for the rest of the day, right? So they end up relapsing and going back to the pills because, you're not taking it. First of all, you have to take it when you're coming off of medication. You need probably 2 or 3 teaspoons every 2 or 3 hours. And that lasts for maybe the first week or so, depending on what you were coming off of. Suboxone, by far, is the worst to come off of.
Yeah. I
mean, even heroin addicts don't need the amount of Kratom that people coming off Suboxone do.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you need the Kratom for as long. It took me a year and a half before I could go with absolutely no withdrawal feelings whatsoever. Like a full year and a half of Kratom use all day, every day. Now, every month, my Kratom use would lighten up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the need that I had for it. Like when I first started, as soon as I woke up, I had to take it. 6 months into it, I could be awake for 20 minutes, a half hour before I felt that need. A year into it, I could be awake for a couple hours before I had to have it. You know what I mean? 3 years later, I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't even think about it until my back starts hurting or my foot starts hurting or I'm fucking miserable for whatever reason it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to give your body time to heal. And so many addicts want an immediate, overnight cure, and they think that this is what it's supposed to be, and it's not like that. You have to put in the time and the time and the work. I mean, you figure for me, it took me, I had to spend, a year and a half, 2 years taking Kratom every day to get to a point where my body pretty much doesn't even remember the effects of the Percocets and everything that I put it through for 10 years. That's a pretty goddamn good trade-off, if you ask me. I got off easy. And my recovery was painless. I mean, don't get me wrong, the emotional stuff, you have to go through that on your own. Yeah. And that's a personal process for everybody. The physical part, that was, I mean, it was painless.
So how do you make it into a tea or do capsules still?
Just do that toss and wash where I just toss and wash because I just wanted to get over with as soon as possible and get it into my system when I first started taking it as soon as possible, and that was the quickest way. Sometimes I'll make like that red bubble if I feel like getting fancy, and that makes it, it explodes the cells and you get a little bit more alkaloids. But yeah, basically I just toss and wash.
And do you have preferred strains or anything?
When I first started, when I very first started Kratom, I just mixed them all together. Like I told you, a friend of mine gave me a couple bags, and it was, red, green, white, yellow. I threw it all together because I couldn't tell the difference anyway. Because I had, so much chemicals in my system, there was no way I'd be able to tell the difference. But maybe 6-8 months into it, I started feeling the different effects. Like whites would give me a little bit more energy, reds would be a little bit more relaxing. And as time went on, those differences, I could feel them more. They'd be more pronounced between each strain. So I kind of progressed from going with the whites to begin with because, I was used to coming off of Percocets and wanting the speed all the time. But, the longer I've taken them, greens and reds are my favorites now.
How much do you do on an average day? Like how many grams?
Well, I can give you teaspoons, maybe 2 or 3 teaspoons a day.
Yeah, that's it.
A little bit more if it's like a crappy day out and rain in and, I'm hurt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, on a good day, I don't even take it at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's some days when I don't feel the need.
Yeah. And if you go a long time without it, do you ever get like withdrawals at all? Like, and even
No,
mild
the
ones?
only thing, I would say the only thing, or the worst thing that happens is, I noticed that I'm a little bit crankier than normal, but that's only for like maybe the first few hours of the first day.
Yeah.
But once I get going, it's not even something that I think about. Now, once I started being able to go through a day, like say a year and a half into it, when all my withdrawals were done and everything, like my physical bad withdrawals, my nose would run, which I thought was completely bizarre. But, hey, if I didn't take Kratom, I would have a runny nose for whatever reason. And now that doesn't even happen.
That seems like one like mild side effect. Have you had any other side effects like when you first started taking it that you had to?
Oh, constipation.
Yeah, that's
not
pretty
to be
common.
graphic, but yeah, I was not hydrating enough at all. Yeah. Magnesium citrate is your friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think nowadays I drink coffee and water, and that's about it. Usually don't have any problems unless I'm in a bad mood and I'm not paying attention to drinking water or stuff. But I'm getting better with that. I'm working on it.
Do you think it helps you like with your job? You have like a high energy job, and you have to focus a lot being a pastry chef.
Well, I'm a pastry chef by trade. So I was looking for a job where I could make shit money because I didn't trust myself with a paycheck. Because it had been, like I didn't work for about 5 years on purpose because I had a lot of making up to do. Like the whole time that I was on Suboxone, I babysat my niece for my sister so she can go to work and stuff like that. I, making a lot of things up for my family. So I got to the point where I was like, I have to go work now. This is fucking getting crazy. So I went down there looking for a shitty job, and that's what I got, a shitty job. But what happened was they kept giving me raises. I started out making $10 an hour, and after the first year, I was up to 16. So, I mean, like, it brings me back to myself, because I run around doing things. I have the energy I did when I was 17.
Yeah.
And the interest and, all that stuff. You know what I mean? It's just, honestly, it made me a better employee. I gave it to all the guys I worked with, and it made all them better employees. It's unbelievable.
To me, it seems like, they try to paint it as a drug and everything, obviously, but to me, it seems like a tool in getting sober again, because you get, like, excited about little things like what the snow smells like in the winter and stuff like that.
That stuff, dude. It helps you stop and smell the roses. And to be honest with you, that's something that a lot of people need that they just don't realize.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something that gets overlooked. Also, I did microdosing too with magic mushrooms. And that was amazing.
How was that?
Oh, yeah.
I've never actually microdosed them.
I felt like I leveled up in life. I've never taken mushrooms ever in my life. I mean, I like eating mushrooms, but I've never tripped on shrooms, anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was real skeptical at first, and the guy that I ended up talking to, he was walking me through it. So I said, all right, fine. It's a microdose. It's like 1/10 of a gram. It's not going to make me see, Smurfs running around.
Yeah.
And it'll be okay. So it was crazy. The first time I had, it's an itty bitty little scoop, and it just tastes like mushroom, no big deal. But I was sitting there, and it was crazy. It felt like I was getting hit in the back of the head, and it was going, open up, open up, open up, open up. You know what I mean? And then finally I was like, I let my defenses down, I guess, and it came through, and it was like, it just, man, I guess it kind of like walked me through my past trauma, because a lot of my emotional stuff came from not being able to, fulfill my want to be in the military. But they helped. But honestly, the mushrooms, it helped me see that my path was not the military this lifetime. You know what I mean? That might have been my path last lifetime, which helps me in this life. I mean, it sounds absolutely insane, but once you go through it, you completely understand, and it makes total sense. I know what I sound like. I know it sounds absolutely insane, but I felt like I leveled up in life because it just helped me understand so much more and accept things that I didn't even want to think about. Like you have to you ever read Nietzsche?
Yeah.
Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah.
Right? Books about going to the deepest, darkest places that you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
That's what it helps you do, but it holds your hand. And, some people cry when they do it for the first week or whatever. Some people, laugh. It's very different. It's very personal emotionally, but I was so much more calm.
Yeah.
I had done a Facebook Live, right, in the group. That's a long story, but I did a Facebook Live in this group that we talked about Kratom tea and stuff like that. And it was before I had before I'd ever had the microdosing. And I'm, a pretty hype individual to begin with. That's putting it mildly. But I did that one live, and then I came back and did another one about 3 weeks later. And the people that were watching it, they were saying, "You look so much more calm." And I felt so much more calm. Maybe I was giving off like a different vibrational thing, but I felt like I leveled up in life. Yeah. Honest to God. I mean, the one thing that I got out of it was that I needed to slow down personally, which makes total sense because, I said I'm a hype person to begin with. Yeah. But it helped me do that. It's amazing. I quit smoking too.
It's good to know that microdosing has those same effects too. Because I remember after tripping, I would do that. You kind of like look at your life from the outside, kind of be like, okay, I need to do this and change this. But it's good to know that you can do that without hardcore tripping.
I went into it. I mean, I was told, go into it looking at it like it's a medicine, and that's what I did. It was basically like a sacrament. And the way that it worked, it worked out. It worked out. I leveled up in life, dude. It was amazing. I wish I had better words to describe, the feelings, the experience. I wish I'd, sat there and documented it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I would love to do it again. I did it for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
I would take it in, you're supposed to do it in the morning, so I'd take a tenth of a gram, 2/10 of a gram before work, and I wouldn't be altered at all. It was just like maybe if I it was kind of like eating a strong edible.
Yeah.
I wasn't impaired, I wasn't delayed, I wasn't, giddy, stupid, nothing like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But on the weekends, I would go and take a walk down the Penn's Landing and sit by the river, and I'd take a bigger dose.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday and Sunday, it would be a bigger dose. And I'd have headphones on and just be in my head, like meditative state.
Yeah.
I did that for a month.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the results that I got from that, I didn't really read a lot. I was aware of the fact that they say microdosing is good for depression and mushrooms can reset your brain and the brains of depressed people and things like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't get too deep into it because I didn't want to placebo myself. You know what I mean? I didn't want to talk myself into something happening and then that's why it happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So the things, after I'd done it, I went and I was reading a few of these articles, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's exactly how I feel. That happened. It was crazy. The way that everything lined up, what they said it was going to be, and what actually happened after the fact that I didn't know was supposed to happen, that did it. It was good stuff, man. I highly recommend it. It really does work. I mean, you go into it, you set an intention.
Mm-hmm.
I would take my scoop in the morning and set an intention and say, if there's a part of something that I want to delve into deeper, that would be my intention for that day. And it actually worked. It wasn't overwhelming. It was very subtle, but I would just have an idea oh, that's why that might have happened. And this is why that might have happened. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. And I would just feel like a release. You know what I mean? My body is so much more relaxed now, and I'm in a lot less pain. I would meditate at night before bed with those healing frequencies, 528 hertz and 963 hertz and all those.
Oh,
and
okay.
That stuff, I honestly, I wake up in the most minimal amount of pain.
Hell yeah. So do you get involved in any Keep Kratom Legal activism?
Yeah, my representative is State Representative Elizabeth Fielder, and I forget the name of the district, but I've been down there to talk to her a couple of times on about legislation, because we had this one guy, Scott Conklin, and he was talking about he was trying to I think ban Kratom, I think it was. All right, there's one vendor, the name is Philly Kratom. The website is yourleafyourlife.com. Anyway, it's Sean and Megan Zamorano. Yeah, they're really, really active in that. So I'd gone up there one time because Sean was in the Navy too. So we had both gone in there to talk to Fielder because they give us a little bit more, I don't know, their ears are a little bit more open for a veteran, put it that way.
Yeah.
So we go in there to speak a few times. I've asked the representative myself a couple of times if we can get some kind of community meeting at the library or something. I want my neighborhood knows how bad I was on drugs, and they can all see the difference in me in the last few years. I want them to know how.
Yeah.
Because I've asked multiple times. I mean, Sean and Megan have offered to put up some Kratom for samples for people to just bring home and have in their house, so that when your son is withdrawing, the kid can try it instead of going out and maybe robbing somebody for a bag of dope. Little things like that. I've multiple times, dude, emails, everything. I get nothing back. They tell me, oh, well, you can go talk to this one at Project Ride and go volunteer here. No, I'm not volunteering here because they are not doing what needs to be done. Like the things that you guys are doing now, you've been doing for the last 40 years. It doesn't work. I don't put my time and effort and energy into something that I know for a fact works. Personally, I know it works. I mean, on top of that, the people I've given to at least 60 people over the last couple of years, maybe 70 or 80. And I would say at least half of them have continued with it and gotten sober.
Yeah.
It's unreal. And they can do it in the privacy. A big thing with addiction is that you develop your addiction in private. You do. You develop your addiction in private. And but you might do drugs with friends, but the extent of your addiction and the depth of it, that's personal.
Exactly.
That's only on you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And some people go so far in the hole, they don't know how to fucking get out. That's what happened to me. I didn't know where to go, who to turn to. I was afraid, everything. Mm-hmm. But Kratom, it lets you don't have to go to an AA meeting or an NA meeting and stand up and tell a room of 50 people your deepest, darkest secrets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to go to a shrink and sit there and, lament over things that happened years ago. You can work on this all in your bedroom, in your house, by yourself, in your own mind. And it actually works. Yeah. I mean, the privacy aspect of Kratom is just shoots up the benefits 1,000 times more than any other recovery program.
That's why they're trying to ban it, because it actually does work, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the wrong people are making money off of this. Now, if Kratom was manufactured by Monsanto or Pfizer, it would be in every fucking corner store.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
But because brown people from Indonesia and shit are the ones making money off of this, and not old fat white guys, that's why we have problems.
Yeah, yeah. And the plant material itself is already safe. I mean, it's the purest, unless it's adulterated, the purest shit is already safe how it is. You can't make it any more safe. Just like marijuana, you can't make it any more safe.
Even extracts.
Yeah.
Dude, synthetic marijuana. How many people has synthetic marijuana sent to the ER in the last year?
Really?
Like 500-600?
Yeah, yeah.
But we have emails we have legitimate emails from the FDA going to specific county coroners, telling them that if they have opioid deaths that have kratom in the system, then you need to classify that as a kratom-related death.
Yeah.
Not an opioid. Ignore the fucking 45 milligrams of Xanax and 40 grams of cocaine floating around in the system and the 7 quarts of alcohol in the blood.
And the gunshot wound.
Blame the kratom. Yeah, and the gunshot in your fucking head. But blame the kratom. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah. It really seems like an obvious pharmaceutical people have their guys in office protecting them.
Dude, you know what my one dream is, man? I'll tell you this, from the time when I really started trusting this plant and seeing the effects that it would have on other people, dude, I would love to have a place off-grid somewhere and just let people go recover, dude. Like, here's all the kratom, go sit by a lake. Don't worry about anything. Work on yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that
really.
Right there is what people need, dude. They need time and privacy and just time, dude. We've had town halls we have opioid crisis town halls and stuff like that, and I've gone and I've stood up in the middle of it and said, look, I am an addict, dude. I was on this. You all know I was on, and there'll be at least 2 or 3 people at each one that know who I am and where what I did. I mean, I was never. Trust me, I was very straight A, good fucking person before all that military stuff happened. You know what I mean? I'm back to who I was before that. People see that. It's crazy. Dude, I got up in the middle of a meeting about the opioid crisis, and I told them, dude, this is the answer. We have the answer. You sit here and spin your wheels, and nothing gets done. Everybody wants to stay in here and complain, but you don't want to give me an hour in a fucking library once a month to talk about this tea that actually fucking works.
Well, that's a good idea to do something like that, because I'm trying to think of what to do around here. And I know, like, one of our county representatives here, I'm in the city of Pittsburgh, and one of our county representatives ran on, I was an opiate addict and I went to jail. And
dude, no, I'm not even kidding. I've been thinking about that. If there was ever a time to do something like that, it's right now.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, I wish she was running for office in Pittsburgh. I'd definitely vote for her in half a second. Jennifer Van Blunk, thank you very much. The Kratom Science Podcast is written and produced by me, Brian Gallagher. The music is Risey. The song is called Memories of Thailand. For more information information on all things Kratom, see kratomscience.com. Take care.